You know, one of the things that I hate at the end of a magic show is when the magician tries to tug at your heartstrings by telling some really sappy story about his childhood and using cheap theatrics and playing some sappy music and doing some beautiful piece of magic that's supposed to make you weep with joy. I promise you, I would never stoop that low. And that reminds me of a story. When I was 5, I asked my father a very serious question. Where do the stars come from? He smiled, handed me a beer, and said, "Sit down, son. I think it's time we had a talk." So I did. He said, "There are some people that claim that stars begin as whirling clouds of dust and gas in the interstellar medium, caused usually by gravitational instability, which in turn causes something called fusion that creates plasma in a hydrostatic equilibrium." But he told me that he knew for a fact that that was all bullshit, and that the real answer had more to do with origami. He pulled out a piece of paper and he began folding it. He said, "Son, once there were no stars in the sky. It was black and empty, just like my life would be one day." And he began folding. He said that the magic began with something we see every day. The moon. But it wasn't the moon. It was when the moon reflected on the ocean's waves, it created these tiny little stars. Then my father pulled out a Chinese fan. And I remember thinking how weird that was, the origami and the Chinese fan. It wasn't until then that I realized my father had spent the better part of his 30s traveling with the Chinese circus as a geisha clown. But he told me to believe in magic. He told me that one day there was a wind stirred up in the air by mystical, frolicking unicorns. And that wind took every little reflection of the moon, every little star, and whirled it up, and they became stars. And I didn't believe him. But then he showed me. And I'll never forget what he said to me next. He looked at me square in the eye, and he said, "Son, now get a broom and clean all this shit up." So that's my story about my father when I was really young. It means a lot to me, the story. Sorry. You're all laughing, but that hurt.